The following is an exclusive presentation of Turner Sports.
Last year's world champions look very serious about repeating. Based on their performance the last 2 weeks, the Atlanta Braves are clicking on all cylinders, winning 8 of their last 11, including last night's brilliant outing by Steve Avery. Tonight, it's Greg Maddux's turn as the Braves and Rockies hook up again.
Best, folks. He is the best. Got it.
That ball is gone. The home run for Chipper Jones. The Atlanta Braves have brought the first championship to Atlanta.
You're about to make your first major league start as a pitcher, and it has to come in the park of the defending world champions against a 4-time Cy Young Award winner. Hi, everybody. Pete Van Weren welcoming you to Atlanta, where the Colorado Rockies and Atlanta Braves are about to go at it in Game 2, and that's the challenge facing 26-year-old Mike Farmer tonight. His first major league start for the Rockies in Atlanta against Greg Maddux, who Don is maybe coming off the most surprising outing of his 4 years in a Braves uniform.
Yeah, lately 2 questions being asked about Greg Maddux. One is, how can he be so human as to give up a grand slam homer? Something many of us who plied our trade in the big leagues for a number of years wish we could have only given up one. Second question popping up, Pete, is how's he going to do on 3 days rest? That's what he's doing. Bobby Cox deciding to bring him back a day early. Well, does that answer your question? The last time that he did it was in July of 1994, and Greg Maddux is one of those guys who has the ability to adjust. He is such a good pitcher. Thing like that really don't bother him. And as far as the Braves are concerned, they should be on a high tonight. Last night's ball game, one of those you'd like to bottle and keep. Good defense, timely hitting, and great pitching by Steve Avery. All in all, the ingredients for a good night for the Braves.
Braves will be going after their 4th consecutive victory. We'll be back with the starting lineups and all the action from Atlanta right after this.
This is your mission, should you choose to accept it. Good luck.
This whole operation was a decoy.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Great night for baseball here in Atlanta. The weather is perfect. We're always glad you're with us here. Time for us to take a look at our starting lineups. Your friends at Citgo happy to bring them to you. For the Colorado Rockies, Eric Young to lead it off. Ellis Burks will bat second. Hitting in the 3rd spot, it's Larry Walker. The cleanup hitter, Andres Galarraga. Dante Bichette will bat 5th. Vinny Castilla will follow him. Jeff Reed will catch tonight and bat 7th. There's a reason for that. We'll tell you later. Walt Weiss to bat 8th and Mike Farmer completing the batting order. Defensively, Klesko, Grissom, and Justice in the outfield. Jones, Blauser, Lemke, and McGriff make up the infield. Javi Lopez behind the plate and making his 8th start of the year, a 4-2 record, a .283 earned run average. Coming back on 3 days rest, there he is, Greg Maddux.
And there you see Greg's numbers for the year. He's 4-1 lifetime against the Colorado Rockies. And Eric Young steps in to lead things off. Young 1 for 4 last night, giving him a 10-game hitting streak. He's hitting .415 for the year. And he takes a strike. We're underway. Right to the shortstop, Blauser. Ball had a little bit of tail to it, but Jeff stayed with it. 1 down.
Our umpiring crew tonight, Pete. Joe West calling the balls and strikes. Jeff Kellogg down at first. Jerry Lane at second, and Angel Hernandez over at third. There's a look at the singing cowboy Joe West.
1 gone. Here's the left fielder, Ellis Burks. Held hitless last night, hitting .331, off to a good start for the Rockies this year. 7 homers. He's driven in 19. First time he's ever faced Greg Maddux. At the knees for a called strike, 0-1. misses inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. The count on Burks.
He's very happy to be healthy. Remember, he had I think it was a hand problem, wasn't it? Look at the difference in the batting average, the home runs. He has always been a good ball player when he's 100%, and the Rockies hope he stays that way all year.
Now the 1-1 on the way, and it caught the outside corner. Count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes on Ellis Burks. Just missed outside. 2-2. One man out, base is empty, just underway, and a beautiful night here in Atlanta. And the 2-2 pitch struck him out. Burks down swinging. Strikeout number 1 for Maddux. Out number 2 here in the top half of the first inning.
Sinking fastball. Burks is a good low fastball hitter, but he throws this one down and in and right under his swing. That's called pitching in bad to his power. Maddux has always been a good pitcher, Pete, but he's been especially efficient this year. He's averaging less than 100 pitches per outing and averaging right at 7 innings a start, almost 8 innings a start.
Larry Walker hitting .271, 8 home runs, 23 RBIs. First pitch swinging right back to Maddux on 1 hop, and a very good start for Greg Maddux. He gets the Rockies 1, 2, 3. We go to the bottom half of the first inning, no score.
Good start for the Braves defensively. Let's see what the offense can do, and here's the batting order. Marquise Grissom to lead it off. Mark Lemke to bat second. Chipper Jones third. Fred McGriff is the cleanup hitter again. He'll be followed by David Justice. Javi Lopez to catch and bat 6. Ryan Klesko will hit 7th. Jeff Blauser in the 8th spot, and completing the batting order, it's Greg Maddux. Defensively, the Rockies with Burks in left, Walker in center, Bichette in right. Castilla, Weiss, Young, and Galarraga make up the infield. Behind the plate, it's Reed, and making his first ever major league start. There you have a look right there at Michael Farmer, out of same school that spawned Marvin Freeman. And Pete, I tell you one thing about this 9th place hitter. You're not going to treat him like your average run-of-the-mill pitcher.
No, he began as an outfielder in the Phillies organization and had some pretty good offensive seasons in the low minor leagues his first 3 years as an outfielder. But then converted to pitching, which he also did in college. And he's risen very rapidly since coming over to the Rockies. Made 1 relief appearance over the weekend against the Marlins. Gave up a home run in the 1 inning he worked to Craig Grebeck. Count on Grissom goes to 2-0. Marquise at .252, 3 homers and 12 RBIs, has a 7-game hitting streak working. In fact, hitting streaks are working for the top 6 hitters in the Atlanta Braves batting order. Count goes to 3-0. This is a little unusual for Mike Farmer. Might be a little nervous out there. Normally he's got excellent control. Last year in Double-A ball, a record of 10-5 at New Haven. Only 35 walks and 77 strikeouts in 110 innings. But he walks Grissom on 4 straight to open up the bottom half of the first. Might look like a mismatch at first when you see a guy like Mike Farmer making his first major league start against a pitcher like Greg Maddux. But remember last year, first starts against the Atlanta Braves for Tyler Green, Michael Mims of the Phillies, Steve Paris of the Pirates, Glenn Dishman of the Padres, Jamie Brewington of the Giants, Jason Isringhausen of the Mets. First time the Braves saw those pitchers, they lost to each one of them. Here's Lemke, .272 with 3 home runs. And there's a strike, 0-1.
Scouting report on Farmer. Throws a tailing fastball. Gets pretty good velocity. Likes to take a little off of it, turn it over, and has a 3/4, more like a slurve than a slider breaking ball.
Here's the 0-1 on the way. Over but low. Count even, 1 ball, 1 strike. By starting this game, this is the 4th year of existence for the Colorado Rockies. Farmer becomes the 26th different pitcher they've used as a starter in their constant search to improve the Rockies pitching staff. And this, Don, could turn out to be a real opportunity for him. He was kind of a stopgap guy for this start. They were hoping to get Billy Swift back on Sunday. But Billy Swift, throwing in a simulated game today, had to shut it down after throwing just 23 pitches. The shoulder flared up again. He's almost back to square one, it appears.
Yeah, he threw on Sunday, I believe it was. He threw somewhere over the weekend, and they were anxious to see how he would rebound, but did not rebound well at all. There's still some soreness there, and like you said, he had to put the stopper in it today and couldn't go any further.
So as of right now, Mike Farmer designated to be the starter for the Rockies on Sunday when they were hoping to get Swift back. Throw to first, bounces it up there. Still ahead in the count, of ball and 2 strikes on Mark Lemke. Has not been running much lately, as you can see. He's 5 out of 7 in the stolen base department for the year. 2-2 now on Lemke.
You'd probably like to play a little hit and run with a youngster like this, but he's had trouble throwing strikes, so you'd hate to have your number 2 hitter chase one out of the strike zone right here. A lot of times you'll see managers just see early on how much pressure a young pitcher can take, and one of the ways to do it is to start up the merry-go-round.
There goes Grissom. 2-2 in the dirt. There's the throw down by Reed. High throw in with his 6th steal of the year is Marquise Grissom. And the count full now on Lemke, 3-2.
And it wasn't a hit and run. It was a straight steal, and Marquise Grissom had his measured. Look at it. A slide step. He doesn't kick it very high, but Grissom had 4 or 5 step jump to throw a little bit high. But with that jump, it would have taken a perfect throw to make that even close.
Marquise now at second with nobody out. And a 3-2 pitch upcoming to Mark Lemke. Got him with a changeup. Lemke chased a bad one. He's down on strikes for out number 1. First major league strikeout for Mike Farmer.
That's a 10-year veteran pitch right there. 3-2 with a runner at second, and you go with a good change, good movement on it, and in a good spot. And it didn't look like he altered his motion at all to throw that.
That'll bring up Chipper Jones up to 282 for the year now. 4 homers, had a 2-run shot here last night. He's driven in 21. Farmer began this season at Colorado Springs AAA. He was 2-1 down there with an ERA, a good ERA, 2.06. 1 ball, no strikes on Chipper Jones.
It's a great ERA in that league.
Mm-hmm. One man out. Grissom, the runner at second. 2-0 the count. Got to be jitters and butterflies that are causing this control difficulty, because Farmer is known for his good control. He walked Grissom. He went to 3-2 on Lemke and got Lemke to chase a bad pitch. Now he's behind 2-0 on Chipper Jones. High in the air to shallow center. Walker camps under it. 2 men gone. Grissom holds at second, 2 down. That'll bring up Fred McGriff.
Most people will tell you, Pete, that throwing a fastball and throwing a breaking ball when you get to the big leagues or making it to the big leagues are a lot easier than learning to change speeds. That the changeup and consistency on it is one of the toughest things to master. A lot of times you have to go to a gimmick pitch. But what Farmer has shown you already, he's thrown 4 of them, and 3 of them have been for strikes, and all 4 have had good motion on it. So obviously he is a good student and a quick learner.
McGriff, the number 7 hitter in the National League with a .350 average. He has 7 homers, 30 RBIs. The 30 RBIs rank him 3rd in the league. I think that's called forgetting the signs with that runner at second.
The runner at second, and for all the obvious reasons you've already pointed out, that's acceptable tonight. Once.
Farmer's first pitch to McGriff starts him out with a breaking ball, misses low with it, ball 1.
Maybe it's a little thing to a lot of people, but in watching him closely, let me tell you something he's already doing. His first major league start, and he's varying his looks to second. He's not just going up and giving Marquise Grissom 1 look. He's giving him a peek and then a second look like that.
Got the fastball on the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike on Fred McGriff, who has been on fire. A 5-game hitting streak, 12 for 18 over those last 5 games with 3 homers. And if you go back even deeper, 476 over his last 11 games. Low and inside, ball 2. 2-1, the count of McGriff.
And he's cranking it up against lefties this year. 4 of his 7 homers off of left-handers.
Here's the 2-1 on the way. A little bouncing ball off to the right foul. And the count even now on Fred McGriff, 2-2. Farmer from Gary, Indiana, 6'1", 193. 27 years old.
I was a little surprised they converted him when we were going through some of those numbers that he put together as
usually
center fielder.
if you see a player that was changed from a position player to a pitcher at some early stage in his career, it's because he wasn't hitting at all. Trying to salvage some sort of a career. But Farmer had some decent years. 269. He had a year in A-ball, 238 with 12 homers and 33 stolen bases, 77 RBIs. The average not that high, but pretty good power numbers. Obviously good speed, 33 steals. But as we said, he did pitch also when he was at Jackson State. He was a very good pitcher in college as well as an outfielder. And the Phillies must have felt his rise to the top would come a lot sooner on the mound. But then he was drafted by the Rockies.
And if you're Don Baylor, don't you hope that he makes this ball club and does well, because Baylor is playing 1 short, maybe 2 short of what most people play with regular players. Now all of a sudden he's got a guy who can hitting in that 9th spot and might even be a stopgap pinch hitter for him too.
Here's the 2-2 on the way to McGriff, and he fouls this one off to the left up into the crowd. It remains 2 balls, 2 strikes. David Justice waiting on deck. The Braves had to change their batting order around just a little bit about an hour or so before game time. Originally, Jerome Walton was in the starting lineup playing left field, but that groin pull, it's been plaguing him for about the last week. Acted up during batting practice, so he was scratched. Klesko reinserted into the starting lineup against the lefty. Here's the 2-2. Off-speed pitch missing low. Full count now, 3-2 on McGriff. The 3-2 is hit high and deep to right, way out of here. Long 2-run homer for Fred McGriff. It's 2-0 Atlanta. Home run number 8, RBIs number 31 and 32 for Fred McGriff on a ball that almost made it to the club level.
And I know it's no consolation for Michael Farmer, but he's done that to 10 and 12-year veterans. He had him fouling away the fastball late, threw him the changeup 2-2 to go 3-2, fell in love with it, came back with the changeup here, right down Broadway.
One of the longest home runs we've seen this year. 2-0 Atlanta. David Justice will step in, hitting .302 with 5 homers and 20 RBIs.
It's a little bit of pressure too for Jeff Reed. You're catching a kid making his first start. Figuring out how to work him against the Braves is something that's going to be a little hard, because he went right to that changeup and didn't shake it off.
Count now 2-0 on Justice. That caught the outside corner. 2-1. Braves begin the night 2 games behind Montreal in the East. Colorado right at 500, 3.5 behind San Diego in second place in the West. It's 3-1 now on Justice.
This is continuing a trend tonight, Pete, that the Braves had been going most of the time, giving their pitchers some early runs.
And a walk to Justice, second walk of the inning issued by Farmer. That'll bring up the catcher, Javi Lopez. It'll also bring out pitching coach Frank Funk to have a word with Mike Farmer. And Don, while this meeting is going on, we received some very upsetting news over the wire just a few minutes ago. As many of you who follow baseball may know, L.A. Dodgers outfielder Brett Butler left the ball club a couple of days ago to come back to Atlanta to have his tonsils out. Well, during that tonsillectomy today in Atlanta, it was discovered that he has a cancerous tumor the size of a large plum. The malignant tumor is known as squamous cell carcinoma. He will have further surgery later this month, and he is out for the remainder of the year. And our thoughts are certainly with Brett and his family tonight. What shocking news.
Brett, in a statement, said he would try to keep us all informed as to his progress, and I hope he knows that we are all think about him, and he is in our prayers.
Here's Lopez now, batting .284 with 4 homers and 17 RBIs. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 runs in on the Fred McGriff home run.
No surprise to see those 2 runs in. The Braves have scored 27 runs in the first inning this year. That's their most productive inning, and if you're a starting pitcher, boy, do you love that.
Here's the 1-0, a little tap toward third. Pretty sharply hit, but Castilla handles it, takes the short route to second in time to get justice for out number 3. So that's all for Atlanta, with the damage done on one swing of Fred McGriff's bat. 2-0 Braves after 1.
My favorite spot, our Rogaine leaderboard. Tonight's category, National League innings pitched. Coming into this ball game, the Braves with 3 of the top 5 there, including at the top of the heap, Mr. Maddux.
And with a 2-0 lead, Greg goes to work here in the top of the second. Andres Galarraga leads it off and takes a strike in the outside corner. Galarraga at .257. He has 9 homers, 26 runs driven in, 0 for 4 last night, with 3 of his 4 outs on long fly balls. It's 0-2 now on Galarraga. Moved him off the plate with a fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
I was watching Greg Maddux warm up today, and he had Ned Yost standing down like a hitter, and one of the times that Maddux was throwing, Yost was standing copying Galarraga's stance. And he got out Ned Yost, too.
Second strikeout for Maddux, out number 1 here in the top of the second. And now Dante Bichette batting .320 with a couple of home runs. 25 runs driven in.
And Pete, the whole time he was throwing down there, most of the pitches that he threw to Ned Yost in that stance were that was right there. Low and in fastball or in about the hands.
He is set down 4 in a row. Here's Bichette, who's 1 for 9 lifetime off Maddux. And he takes a strike in the outside corner, 0-1. Took a couple of days for Braves fans to recover from Greg's last start when he had that unbelievable 9th inning, giving up the 5 runs to the Phillies. First grand slam ever hit off Greg in his entire major league career. And only the first time since 1991 that he had given up as many as 5 runs in an inning.
See, his performances have been so spectacular that we're all spoiled,
right?
And we have a set of expectations that for him that go beyond being human.
He's got his 3rd strikeout. Breaking ball gets Bichette. That's out number 2, and 5 in a row set down now by Greg.
He set that up perfectly. Started fastballs off the plate, caught the corner. Fastball off the plate, caught the corner. If you're Bichette, you got to be thinking, you're not going to get me this time by starting it out there. And instead, he sends it the other way. It's a tough pitch to lay off of with 2 strikes.
Now third baseman Vinny Castilla, hitting .293 with 4 homers, 0 for 8 in his career against Maddux. Hits one out of play to the right, foul. Count 0-1. Braves leading at 2-0 on a Fred McGriff home run in the bottom of the 1st. Came up and in with that pitch, and Castilla fouls it straight back to count 0-2. on the right field line foul. Still 0-2. Back in 1992, when the Colorado Rockies had their expansion draft, they selected 36 players. Only 12 of them are still in the organization, and only 9 of them on the major league roster. Vinny Castilla being one of them. He was selected, of course, from the Braves.
That seems like a big turnover. I don't know what the standard or the norm is.
Up the middle, and might get through, and does. Base hit to center for Vinny Castilla. He becomes Colorado's first base runner of the night. And that'll bring up the catcher, Jeff Reed. Now, of all the thunder in the Colorado Rockies lineup, the Larry Walkers and the Andres Galarragas and the Dante Bichettes, who do you think is giving Greg Maddux the most trouble in his career?
You're looking at him.
311, 14 for 45 with 1 homer against Maddux. You see Jeff's numbers for the year.
He did a pretty good job last year for the Giants, too, hitting about 260, 270.
Line, left center field. What's new? Another base hit for Jeff Reed off Maddux. Runners first and second.
He has a little bit of an inside-out swing, which sometimes a hitter like that, especially a left-handed hitter, will take away that running fastball. He doesn't freeze on it. He's made up his mind to swing anyway. See him cock the bat, hands lead through, swings inside out, so that takes the changeup away. And it also, his swing is natural to further start that fastball toward left field. It's already running toward third, so now he just guides it further toward left. Not a pull hitter, so he's not going to pull off the changeup.
That'll bring up the shortstop Walt Weiss off to a good start this year. 328 with a homer and 10 RBIs. Taking low, ball 1. First and second, 2 down. The 1-0 pitch on the way is a little bit low, and the count goes to 2-0 now on Weiss. Braves, of course, have been very dominant in this series with Colorado since the Rockies came into the league. Braves have won 31 out of 37 meetings with the Rockies. The 2-0 pitch. 2-1. Here's the 2-1 on the way. Just missed the inside corner. 3-1 the count. Here in Atlanta, the Braves 15-3 against the Rockies. 1 more win. Same number of losses. In Colorado, first at Mile High and then at Coors Field.
Just about every kind of win you could think of here. 16-3 and 3-2 and 2-0 and 5-4.
Roll toward first. McGriff up with it. Flips to Maddux covering, and that's all for the Rockies in the second. Couple of base hits, couple of runners left. Still 2-0 at the end of an inning and a half.
Our telecast is authorized under broadcasting rights granted by the Atlanta National League Baseball Club and is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission of the pictures or descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is prohibited.
Bottom half of inning 2, Braves leading at 2-0. It'll be Ryan Klesko, Jeff Lauser, and Greg Maddux due up against Mike Farmer. Klesko, as we mentioned, not originally in the starting lineup. They had Jerome Walton penciled in against the left-hander. But Walton's groin pull acting up, so Klesko back in there. He's hitting .257 with a homer against lefties this year. 1 ball, no strikes. One and 1 the count now in Klesko. As you know, if you've been a Braves fan, the Braves have announced earlier this year they'll be moving their spring training headquarters up to Orlando, adjacent to Disney World, in 1998. 1-2 the count in Klesko. Guess who's taken the Braves' place in West Palm Beach, Florida, joining with the Montreal Expos? The St. Louis Cardinals are moving to West Palm Beach. The Cardinals and Expos have announced a joint spring training facility in Jupiter, Florida. It'll open in 1998. On the outside corner, Klesko caught looking. Second strikeout for Farmer.
A little bit of a domino effect today, didn't it?
Yeah, St. Louis has been in St. Petersburg for years. And they are now moving down to West Palm Beach in Jupiter, Florida for 1998, joining with the Expos down there. And the Tampa Bay Devil Rays will take over the Cardinals, former spring training site in St. Petersburg, beginning in 1998. So some musical chairs and spring training in Florida. Here's Blauser. 1 for 10 since coming off the disabled list, taking ball 1 high from Farmer.
Well, I would really think that would help your attendance in spring training and your fan support when you're training right across the bay from where you're going to play.
Cuts down on travel expenses.
Yes.
1 ball, 1 strike on Blauser. Braves on top 2-0 and a 2-run Fred McGriff homer. Upstairs, 2-1. Three and 1 the count now on Jeff Blauser.
Mileage to spring training. You, hey, you want a round trip ticket or you want mileage?
Here's your check for 72 cents. Little pop-up foul territory right side might stay in play for Galarraga, and it will. 2 men gone.
Enjoy that this year. You won't be seeing much of that next year. Pop flies going over near the dugout like this and staying in play. The Braves are going to lose so much foul territory when they move into the new Olympic Stadium across the street. It's going to be interesting. It is going to have an effect on pitching. You are going to see a slight increase, probably an earned run average in the number of runs allowed, because that's 1 or 2 or 3 outs a ball game you're going to be giving up.
And you see the new Olympic Stadium across the street. They're going to have an event there the weekend after this, I believe. 18th of May, I think, track and field qualifiers will be held there. That'll be the official opening of the stadium. Here's the 1-0 pitch to Maddux, and it's taken low in the count 2-0. Greg is 1 out of 17 for the year. Right down the middle for a strike, 2-1. At the knees, 2 balls, 2 strikes now on Maddux.
Probably hard to convince him, but if you're the Rockies, what you'd like for Michael Farmer to do is throw just as free and easy as he's throwing to Maddux right here.
In the air, left center field. Walker on the run, makes the running catch for out number 3. And a better inning for Mike Farmer as he gets the Braves 1-2-3 in the bottom half of the second. We go to the third. Still 2-0 Atlanta. Two nothing Braves. We go to the top of the third. Pitcher Mike Farmer will get his first major league at bat. Then the top of the order, Eric Young, and then Ellis Burks. And Farmer, as we mentioned, began as an outfielder and had some pretty good numbers offensively before changing to pitching. And that's continued since he's been a pitcher. Last year at the AA level, he went 5 for 16. He had a homer. He drove in 7, only struck out 4 times. And he was 1 for 4 in AAA this year.
A little unusual, too. Throws left, bats right.
And first pitch swinging, taps one right to Chipper Jones. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the top of the third. Rain in Pittsburgh, washing out the Pirates Padres. Marlins up on the New York Mets early in that game. No score yet in Cincinnati. Montreal, boy, they just keep on rolling along. Phillies up early on Houston. That was the only afternoon game today. Oakland beating Cleveland and Earl Hershiser. And the rest of the games are all early. One away. Here's Eric Young, who lined out to short to lead off the game. Takes a strike, 0-1.
Bad news for the Marlins. Their starting pitcher Kevin Brown had to come out of the ball game after 3 innings due to what apparently has been is a leg injury. I don't have any more details other than that.
Another line drive. This one at Lemke. Young has hit 2 right on the nose. Blauser snared one in the first inning. Lemke grabs this one in the third. 2 down.
You get like this, a hitter, you want to break your bat now and bloop one in somewhere, because twice he has hit it right on the button with nothing to show for it. And you watch his first hit. Yep, that about says it all. His first hit tonight will be a squirter off the end of the bat.
2 down on just 3 pitches, and now Ellis Burks has struck out his first time. Fly ball, shallow right field foul. McGriff giving chase, still going after it, not going to catch up to it. Called out of play, the count 0-1.
We're talking about those foul balls like that being in the stands. The Rockies in Coors Field, they're very proud to advertise that their fans in the front row are closer to the catcher than the pitcher is. And Candlestick Park, I believe, has the most area and got the most foul ball outs last year.
He went, says Joe West. And the count 0-2. That's something you really don't think about that much, but it makes a lot of sense. The more foul territory, the more balls are going to stay in play.
More important to a guy who pitches up, a guy like Avery, a guy like John Smoltz, it's going to be more important to him, because Maddux and Glavine are mostly ground ball pitchers.
Second time in the game that Burks has gone down swinging. Strikeout number 4 for Maddux in a very easy 1-2-3 inning. They go to the bottom half of the third. Still 2-0 Braves.
Bottom of the third, 2-0 the score. I want to remind you that the NBA playoffs continue tomorrow on TNT as the Atlanta Hawks, and we want to congratulate Lenny Wilkins and the Hawks. They travel down to Orlando to take on the Magic. Bob Neal and Hubie Brown will have all the action for you at 8 p.m. on TNT.
2-0 Atlanta as we go to the bottom of the third. Pete Van Weer and Don Sutton with you. A beautiful night here in Atlanta. Marquise Grissom will lead it off. He drew a walk, stole a base, and came around to score McGriff's home run in the first. First pitch swinging, drives one deep left center field. Walker to the warning track to the wall. He's got it a step shy of the wall. Well hit ball by Marquise Grissom, but it just goes for out number 1.
And there is just enough movement on Mike Farmer's fastball that it looks like they're getting good swings, but they're just not quite catching it on the fat of the bat, except for McGriff's. That ball a little bit near the end. Watch the swing. See the movement at the end, out away. And you can see it was only a couple of inches or an inch or so off the end of the bat.
1 down. That'll bring up Mark Lemke, a strikeout victim in the first. 1 ball, no strikes to Mark. That caught the outside corner, 1-1. Lemke hitting .311 since moving into the number 2 spot on the batting order. Two and 1 the count on Lemke. Farmer is now retired 5 in a row. Three and 1. And this time Lemke draws a walk. That's the 3rd walk issued by Farmer. And it'll bring up Chipper Jones, who fly to center his first time up. I've often wondered, Don, and you experienced this, how much of your very first game in the major leagues, especially if you have a long career, do you actually remember? How much of it's just a blur?
I remember it, the details. And I think probably it varies from person to person, Pete. Obviously, if you have a good one, you're going to remember that. If you have a very bad one, you're going to remember that. It's the one where you're 2-2 or 3-3 and you come out of it. Mine came against the Houston Astros in Los Angeles, and parts of it are as vivid as though it were yesterday. It's not too crazy about the end result. Rusty Staub hit a home run off of Ron Peronowski with my runners on base, and I got the big L.
Over to first, Lemke back safely.
But you know what most pitchers, I think, tell you after you experience your first one, if you have no other experience in the big leagues, see, Mike Farmer's already pitched in a big league ball game, so he's gotten that out of the way. I think the first time you walk out there is more memorable than your first start. What most will tell you is that if the first innings or so go well, what they say is it's not no different than the minors. They're just a little bit better hitters, but
A little bit bigger ballpark.
a little bit bigger ballpark,
A little bit better lights.
better umpires, better playing conditions, but it's still, you got to throw 3 strikes, and you got to keep out of the middle of the plate. But most pitchers will tell you, I think, that it's not that big a deal jumping from high minors.
Still 0-2 on Chipper Jones. 2 runs on 1 hit for Atlanta. The 2-run homer by McGriff. No runs, 2 hits for the Rockies. We're in the bottom of the 3rd, 1 out.
Normally, though, you want to start warming up about 4:30.
Outside corner with a fastball. 3rd strikeout for Farmer. Out number 2 here in the bottom of the 3rd, and that'll bring up Fred McGriff, who hit his 8th homer of the year. Now has 32 RBIs. Coming into tonight's play, Barry Bonds led the league with 36 RBIs. Then Henry Rodriguez of Montreal, 34. Fred McGriff now with 32. And a bit of a surprising name in 4th place, Jeff King of the Pirates, 29. That ball well hit, but this one will stay in play for the right fielder, Dante Bichette. And that's it for Atlanta in the 3rd. They leave a runner. We go to the 4th. It's still 2-0. Here's tonight's Aflac trivia question. What was the first team in Major League history to have 4 players hit 30 or more home runs in a season? We'll give you the answer in the bottom half of the inning. 4th inning, here's Don.
All right, Larry Walker to lead it off, Galarraga and Bichette to follow. Braves lead it 2-0. One swing of Fred McGriff's bat, the difference. Maddux starts off Walker with a strike, and it's 0-1. Finally, a trivia question I know the answer to.
Rockies, of course, did it last year. With these 4 hitters, Walker, Galarraga, Bichette, and Castilla.
That's a pretty good accomplishment. 30 home runs is hard enough to get for one player. To right center field, good break by Justice and a good play. Hit that right on the nose. The Rockies have had some good cuts against Greg Maddux. Maddux has 4 strikeouts, but a couple of the outs have been line drives.
And once again, good positioning here. Justice was shaded over toward right center field.
You know, you and I were talking about that last night between innings. I wonder if the players realize how important that is and what a good job it is. I know most of us, probably most fans don't, but how many outs are recorded as Galarraga stands in? How many outs are recorded on what would normally be base hits because of the combination of his positioning and Jimmy Guadagno's charts? It would surprise a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, because it becomes common from where we sit up here at this level. When a ball is hit down the line or toward the gap, you almost anticipate it falling in for extra bases. Right. And so many times you look up and voila, there's a Braves outfielder standing right there.
And the reason they can do it, and we've said it before, is that the Braves starting pitchers are so consistent in putting the ball where the catcher calls for it. And Avery yesterday, a classic example of how good that is. You can put your defense a certain way if you know your pitchers are going to follow the plan and are going to put the ball in the right spot most of the time. 1, 2, 3 in the right spot, and a U-turn for Galarraga. Strikeout number 5. For Maddux, Galarraga has gone twice.
Our view from up above nailed the outside corner.
So Maddux now has set down 6 in a row, and he'll face Dante Bichette with 2 outs. Bichette, a strikeout victim his first time up. 2 fastballs away and then a breaking ball down and away. See what he starts him off with. Same pitch he struck him out on, and he's ahead 0-1. To Braves fans and friends listening in, Aline Peters in Charleston, South Carolina, and a couple of Braves fans out in Lake Elsinore, California, in enemy camp, James and Elizabeth Edmonds, and all the gang at Coeli on the island of Lanai, Mark and Susan Orlowski. Big Braves fan. Did he go around?
He may have. Yes, he did.
Yep.
He was just trying to get out of the way of that high-tight fastball. He can't believe that it was called a strike, but I'm sure if Dante gets a chance to look at a replay of this, he'll understand why it was. Look at this. That's a swing. That's not even a check swing.
No, didn't mean to, but it is a swing. That's one of those where when he argues, they're going to say if you'd have hit that, it would have gone out of the park. So Maddux ahead of another hitter. No balls and 2 strikes to Dante Bichette. Teases him with the curveball. 1-2. Bichette spreads out his stance with 2 strikes. Probably won't even stride. Takes it outside. 2-2. He's a student of hitting. You don't hear as much about it from him as you do Tony Gwynn, but he is also a fan and a student of, and a friend of Ted Williams. Stays alive, still 2-2. He and Steve Avery on a very impressive roll combined. They have 1 walk in about the last 59 innings. Fair or foul? It's a foul ball, and Chipper Jones can't come up with it. Going to be extra bases for Bichette. A fair ball. Got the runner in the right spot, but the wrong call. That was close, right over the bag, and Chipper Jones might have had a tough time throwing him out at first if he'd have come up with it.
This was close to being foul. Right along the line. But it was still fair when it crossed the bag, and Chipper unable to come up with a backhanded grab. It had crossed the bag in fair territory and then was just in foul territory once it got to where Chipper's glove was.
So the Rockies have a runner in scoring position with 2 gone. Vinny Castilla, the hitter, he hit a single up the middle his first time. He's one of those type hitters that Maddux will tell you scare him just a little bit. Maddux groups hitters into 2 categories, maybe more than that, but the 2 I've heard him talk about. One is the guy who kind of sets things up, and the other is called hackers.
Well, I can't believe this, but the official score is charging Chipper Jones with an error.
I hope
no hit for Dante Bichette.
I hope that's subject to review. 0-2 to Castilla. Well, I'm going to leave mine a double in the book because I think after further review, that'll probably be a hit. No balls and 2 strikes. To right center field. Justice on the run again, and another skidding catch. Again, David Justice positioned more toward right field. Got a good jump. Battle the lights. Makes the catch. There's another look. Rockies come up empty. No runs, a hit, no errors, and 1 left. 2-0 still the score.
And let's answer tonight's Aflac trivia question, which was, what was the first team in Major League history to have 4 players hit 30 or more home runs in the season? And the reason Don Sutton remembered this is because he was there. Yep. Steve Garvey, Reggie Smith, Ron Say, and Dusty Baker.
Remember it well. Went to the World Series that year. That U-turned in New York. David Justice to lead it off. Another one of those strange events where the guy who makes the good defensive play leads off an inning. And he takes a strike 0-1. Justice, Lopez, and Klesko. 2-0 the score. Bottom of the 4th inning. In the air to left field, left center. Burks over, has a bead on it. And one-hands it. We saw him one-hand one for extra bases out in Colorado. So only the walk since, actually 2 walks since McGriff's home run. Issued by Mike Farmer. 1 gone for Javi Lopez. He grounded to third his first time up. Bobby battling the flu bug over the weekend. Fouls it away, 0-1. Actually, a number of Braves were under the weather over the weekend.
Javi Lopez, David Justice, Mark Wohlers, John Smoltz.
Breaking ball stays upstairs. It's 1-1. Well, that started in spring training, didn't it? And it just seems like there hasn't been longer than a week or so that somebody hasn't had the bug in the locker room. Lopez lays off the high fastball. It's 2-1. Mike Farmer out of Gary, Indiana. In 40 ball games last year at New Haven, 28 of them as a reliever. To short, the Galarraga. 2 gone. 4 in a row set down by Mike Farmer. And with 2 outs, Ryan Klesko will hit. Braves have had a good time hitting here in Atlanta this year. Look at some of these numbers during this homestand. The batting average, the runs per game. Got to be fun to be a pitcher when you're getting 6 a game, 8 homers. And the most impressive number in that whole group to me, Pete, 25 2-out hits. Skied to left field. Looks like it's going to be an easy inning for Mike Farmer. If it comes down and Burks catches it, it does. He does. 3 up, 3 down. We've completed 4. It's 2-0 Braves. We're moving to the 5th inning. Night descending on Atlanta. A beautiful shot that is. All the rain to the north of us today. Perfect night for baseball here. Maddux working on a pretty good night himself. Reed to lead it off. Grounds it to second. That's got to be a relief for Maddux. He finally gets him out. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 5th inning. Pete Van Wieren, Don Sutton with you for 2 more outs. George Skip will take you the rest of the way. Maddux pitching on 3 days rest.
You can see one of Reed's philosophies, obviously, though, facing Maddux. Go after that first pitch. Don't let him get ahead of you in the count where he can work on you. He got his base hit back in the 3rd on a first pitch and almost snuck one through there for another base hit.
Walt Rice, who grounded to McGriff his first time up. Maddux covering at first. He takes one right down the middle. That's what you were talking about. Jody Reed would have been hacking on that one. No balls and 1 strike. If he gets you in a hole, Maddux just carves you up. Look where that one was now in the inside corner, and all of a sudden you take one down the middle, and the next thing you know, it's 0-2. He teases you down and in. Now that pitch sets up 2 or 3 different things. We have seen him so many times cut one in on the hands, run one at him, catch the inside corner, or throw the changeup down and away. His way of pitching leaves him a lot of options. In on the fist to Blauser. Blauser to McGriff. He's making it look easy. 2 gone. And here's the pitcher, Mike Farmer.
He made it sound easy last year, too, Don. He was being interviewed, and they were talking about his impeccable control, and they asked how he was able to develop such outstanding control, and his answer was, well, it's only a little over 60 feet. I mean, he makes it sound so easy. There are a few pitchers who wish it was that easy.
Well, if you watch him, though, Pete, he doesn't fall all over the place throwing the ball. He makes it minimum of effort, puts the ball there. He's not trying to throw 99 miles an hour. And I think one of his greatest assets, and you might disagree with me, is that he doesn't have a trick pitch or he doesn't have an overpowering pitch. Because he doesn't go to one pitch when he gets in a jam. He has a complete arsenal. Little looper to Blauser. Nice easy inning for Maddux. Rockies go 1, 2, 3. We're halfway home. It's 2-0 Braves.
Well, Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel with you now as we go to the bottom half of the 5th inning. 2-0 Braves on top. Greg Maddux, typical Maddux fashion, shutting out the Rockies on only 2 hits so far and looking very good.
Yeah, which one are you?
Yeah, well, take a wild guess.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Yeah, he looks great. This kid hasn't pitched bad either. Mike Farmer's done all right.
A little shaky in the 1st inning, and I'm sure he got the jitters out of the way and has been sharp for the most part since then.
By the way, if Bud Selig's looking in, I've solved all baseball's problems again.
Lay it on him.
We've been going about this all the wrong way with all the free agency and stuff. There's no loyalty to teams and players. They should throw the money in a pot, work that out. There should be no trades ever in baseball. You go with your farm system. Whatever you develop, you got to live with. If you get tired of them, you fire them or release them, whatever you want. Everybody makes a very, very good salary, and if you get in the playoffs, you get a whole bunch more money, and if you win the World Championship, you get a whole bunch more money as a team. Brings fan loyalty back, and all the problems are solved. Thank you very much.
Drag bunt by Blauser. Almost good enough for a base hit. Nice play by Farmer. I like the part where you said just throw all the money in a pot.
Yeah.
You know, I think that'd be simple.
No, well, all they have to do is work out how much money.
Yeah. And then,
but you don't have to worry about all this free agency nonsense and these arbitrators who don't know anything about baseball.
so haven't you reverted back to the real reserve clause then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so what's wrong with that? No, they've never had it where you couldn't make a trade before.
No, that's true.
And it would prove who really knows what they're doing as far as general managers and farm directors are concerned.
Just a couple of kinks to work out.
Well,
I think you
yeah.
got it. I think it's just, you know, just rough around the edges.
You can't expect me to do everything. What are those, all these guys, these union guys and owners guys? Let them do that.
Greg Maddux hit the ball hard his last time up, lined out to center. This is playable for Galarraga. Ooh, battles the wind just a little bit. Makes the catch. 2 down. And 7 in a row set down by Mike Farmer.
On a more serious note, I know Don and Pete talked about it, but our thoughts and prayers with Brett Butler and his family.
Absolutely. Grissom hits the ball hard, but Vinny Castilla right there keeps the glove down, makes the play. Boy, was that an easy inning for Mike Farmer. He's set down 8 in a row, and we've completed 5. The Braves on top of the Rockies, 2-0.
It's time for the Budweiser game summary. Maddux has been great. Farmer has been good. McGriff has a homer. Here's Joe.
McGriff tattooed one also, about 450 feet. Did we ever get the tail of the tape on that?
No,
bad
we
boy?
didn't, Joe. Perhaps I should go ask.
Almost into the club level. Eric Young has hit the ball hard twice. Once right at Blauser, once right at Mark Lemke, and he takes a strike. He has hit in 10 straight.
If he lines one to Chipper Jones, he may snap.
And you're right, he was talking to himself after that second line drive. The Rockies are 7-7 on the road this year. But in their history, as you saw earlier, only 3-15 against Atlanta in this ballpark. Joe West says he went after that pitch, and it's 0-2. We were talking about this over on radio. It's scary the way these 4 starters right now are throwing strikes and getting ahead of the hitters.
I started laughing to myself driving home last night. It just occurred to me.
First the 0-2 pitch, broken bat comebacker. Easy play, 1 out.
And I mean, no insult intended here, but right now, if you rated our pitchers, the 3rd and 4th guys would be Maddux and Glavine.
That's right.
2 guys are headed for the Hall of Fame.
April pitcher of the month right there. And Steve Avery last night took over the National League lead in ERA. Ellis Burks has fanned twice. 0-1. That says a lot.
The Rockies, in fairness, probably deduct a run just because of the ballpark. Make it 4.86 because of their ballpark.
Breaking ball a little bit outside, and Burke showed bunt. Last night they were trying to bunt Avery.
By the way, we were kidding about Detroit maybe pitching a shutout tonight. Felipe Lira has a no-hitter against the Yankees through 3 innings. You were wrong about McGriff's homer.
I was way off. I said 450. It was 441. Fastball a little bit low. It's 2-1 to Burks. What's the American League average, Phil? Do you know? Off the top of your head, the ERA average?
About 4.6, I think.
A little higher than the National League.
Yeah, well, Detroit.
Thank you. Yeah. 2-2 to Burks. 5.10.
It is, really? The average?
Mm-hmm.
Caramba.
2-2 pitch off the thumbs into shallow left field, and Blauser tracks it down. You know, it takes a lot to get you to say that.
What, caramba?
Uh-huh.
I only think of that word about once every 4 or 5 years. You mentioned that our broadcast went into Venezuela last night. That terrified me to you.
Yeah.
Told me you meant the pictures. So why would they be listening to us? They wouldn't understand anything we're saying.
Yeah.
In fact, people in Atlanta have that problem.
Larry Walker 0 for 2. A comebacker, and he was robbed of a hit. Hit a flare out to right that David Justice made a nice sliding catch on. Nine for 41 lifetime against Greg Maddux. Takes inside for ball 1. We were talking last night about Joe West having developed a chest protector for umpires. He's wearing it tonight, the West vest. Should be an easy play for Lemke. Should be an easy inning for Maddux, and it is. 3 up and 3 down go the Rockies. He's retired 7 in a row. We go to the bottom of the 6th, still 2-0 Braves. Bottom half of the 6th inning will have Lemke, Jones, and McGriff due up for Atlanta.
In case you joined us late, and we referred to it earlier but weren't very specific, although I know Pete and Don were earlier in the game. Terrible news for all of us today, learning that Brett Butler, he underwent a tonsillectomy here yesterday, and as they did that, they discovered that he has throat cancer. He's out for the rest of the year. He's home here in Atlanta. The chances of recovery of survival are 70%, and for a well-conditioned athlete like Brett, I'm sure it's even better than that. But naturally a source of great concern to all of us who know him, and all. We were talking last night about baseball being a family. Well, he's a member of our family, all of us. And so our thoughts and prayers are with him. He's going to have the operation to remove it on May 21st, and then we'll undergo chemotherapy.
And we wish him a speedy recovery.
Indeed. It would be nice along about July or August to have him come by for a visit.
Mm-hmm. Ironically, one of his teammates with Los Angeles, Scott Radinsky, battled cancer, beat Hodgkin's disease, and it's back 100%. Lemke hanging tough. It's still 1-2.
And hanging tough is something Brett Butler will do too, and his fine family.
Lemke tonight, strikeout and a walk. He's got a modest 4-game streak working. And his average up over 270 as a result. That's off the end of the bat, in trouble for Burks, who broke back, now coming on and makes the catch. A lot of balls being hit off the thumbs and off the end of the bat from both sides. Nine in a row set down by Farmer since he walked Lemke back in the 3rd inning. That's the only base runner to reach in the last 15. Jones goes after the first pitch and kind of reached for one, didn't get all of it. So Walker has a play. 2 down. This guy got ahead in the count on a couple of strikeouts, Skip, and got some guys to swing, take funny swings at curve balls. Chipper took a curve for a called 3rd strike, and it's almost like they're up there hacking early in the count to avoid that happening again.
Fred McGriff came up with the wrong piece of lumber, and he now makes a swap. Here's what happened in the 1st inning if you joined us late.
Hanging curveball, and he killed it.
A walk, an out, and bingo. 2-run shot, 441 feet.
There's that hook and a good one. 0-1. Farmer's last start for Colorado Springs against Vancouver in the Coast League. He went 9 shutout innings, allowed only 2 hits, had 17 ground ball outs. He is said to have a good sinker, but tonight he has had an excellent curveball. 1-1 pitch. Hit hard. Slicing back to Burks. He battles the lights and makes the catch. And another 3 up and 3 down inning for Mike Farmer. He is now retired 11 in a row, and we go to the 7th. 2-0 Atlanta. Time for the Armor All What's on Deck feature here tonight. Tonight, the second game of the 3-game series with the Rockies. Tomorrow night's game on Sports South. Tom Glavine against Armando Reynoso. Thursday's a day off, and then the Braves hit the road. We go to Philadelphia for 3 games. We'll have them all for you right here on TBS beginning Friday night at 7:30. That will be John Smoltz against Terry Mulholland. We go to the 7th, and here's Skip.
Okay, Joe, thanks. Galarraga leads it off. Deep short, tough play for Blauser. Can he make it? No. Infield hit Galarraga. He got his feet sort of tangled up, could never really get set out there. Almost impossible play anyway.
As you watch this play, one thing you have to remember about Jeff Blauser, of course, is the knee and the injury that knocked him out. But also, what you may not know is he's having to wear one of those big knee braces. Remember that thing Sid Bream had to wear?
Yeah.
He's got one of those big metal braces on his right knee, and now you can see there through the uniform that bulge on his calf muscle that's right there. You can see the brace easily, and it's really hard for him to plant and throw.
Dante Bichette, the batter, he has struck out and reached on an error. Chase the runner back. The first big surprise, at least through 3 quarters in the NBA. Utah leads San Antonio in San Antonio 74-61. Runner at first, nobody out. Came in with a fastball, missed. 1 ball, no strikes. First time tonight the Rockies have had their leadoff man aboard. Bichette now 1 out of 11 in his career against the Atlanta pitcher. Double play would be nice. Bichette with only 2 homers. You know that's going to change eventually. You hope not the next couple days. Not with that pitch. He was way out in front. Some close contests in the National League tonight. We'll have all the scores for you on the Delta scoreboard in another inning or so. Off the end of the bat, fouled back. It's 1-2. Vinny Castilla waits on deck. There's Vinny, the former Brave prospect. Low and away. 2-2.
Not so good a news today on the prospects of Billy Swift coming back. I think Pete and Don probably talked about it, but Swift worked an abbreviated outing in a so-called game today before batting practice, but they had to shut him down early because he was feeling some more discomfort in his elbow.
2-2 off the end of the bat again. Count stays the same. And Saberhagen doesn't look good either, huh?
No, I talked to Brett before the game too, and his rest and rehabilitation without surgery is not really doing the trick, and looks like he's going to have to undergo reconstructive surgery on his shoulder.
Which would mean all of this year and some of next, did you tell me?
A 1-year rehab.
Throw to first. Now they say on the Brett Butler thing it is mouth cancer. I think I said throat cancer. That's what the original report said. 2 balls, 2 strikes, the count. Hit him. Fastball up and in, and he's hurting a little bit too. And so are the Braves. The tying runs are on with nobody out.
Dante hanging over the plate, as you can see, makes it tough for him to get out of the way. Remember, last time up, he was spinning to try to get out of the way of a pitch inside, and they called a swing on him. This time, no chance to get out of the way, and it grazes him. And for Maddux, that's the second batter he has plunked this year.
So he's in his first real major trouble spot. He had 2 on with 2 out in the second. He's got 2 on with nobody out here in a 2-0 game. Now time is called. Chipper Jones comes over. They're wondering if this is a bunt situation for Colorado. The lower end of the order is coming up. Castilla, Reed, and Weiss. But Reed in particular has handled Maddux well in his career. He is now 15 out of 47 against him. So we'll see how Don Baylor chooses to play it.
They don't bunt much with those guys in them that have the thunder in their bats, and Vinny Castilla is one of them. He does not have a sacrifice bunt this year. They generally let them hack away and on any count. Let's see how they play it with Maddux. It's a little different.
Swinging, fouling, 0-1. You're right. Yes, usually.
But
Joe's got his dinosaur Band-Aid off tonight too. He's a real gamer.
didn't want to go on the DL.
That's the
Also couldn't find a Band-Aid at home.
the stretch. The 0-1. Drill deep left field. That's trouble if it's fair. It's hooking. It's a home run. Hit the foul pole. I'll say he swung away, and the Rockies have the lead. Boy, this reminds you of the other night, doesn't it, against the Phillies? All of a sudden.
What's really scary is that the way it was going the other night, you thought Maddux was in complete control when the Phillies erupted, but this kid Mike Farmer's allowed only 1 hit. Don't forget that, and that was McGriff's homer in the first inning. Here's the swing again, and Vinny turned on a high pitch. And it looked like it was hooking so much it may not stay fair, but did catch the foul pole. There's the disgust on Greg's face.
And he hit the daylights out of it, too. I wish he'd have bunted. 3-2 Rockies. Jeff Reed, the batter, and there's a shot to right. No action in the bullpen, but that's subject to change. And again, Greg was sharp as a tack until this inning, and suddenly they're hitting the ball rather well, and Castilla just crushed his.
The only thing I think you have to keep an eye on here is if he is going to get up in the strike zone on a consistent basis. Remember, he's working on 3 days rest. He's handled that quite successfully as a Brave in the past, going 4-0 in those opportunities. But that base hit to Reed may be kind of a result from the home run. Maybe he lost his concentration a little bit. I was thinking about that.
No action in the bullpen, which frankly surprises me.
Vinny Castilla is an excellent fastball hitter. And for him, he got a gift about letter high.
He's got 5 homers, 19 RBIs now. And it's got to be a special kick when it's against a team that for whom you once labored. Throw to first, they chase the runner back. Still nobody out in the inning. Now the bullpen begins to stir. I don't know if everybody's going to warm up, but the bullpen's begun to stir. Nope, just changing places. Line drive, center field, base hit. A hit batsman, a homer, and 2 more hits. Now Farmer will come to the plate, and even though he started his career as a minor league outfielder, you would figure him to bunt here. Now the bullpen gets busy.
You know, if you're Bobby Cox and you've seen Greg Maddux pitch so many good ball games, I would imagine that it's hard. You would be reluctant to get the bullpen up. You think He's going to get this straightened out. He'll get this next guy. Then he'll get the next guy. I would certainly be reluctant to bring somebody in to replace him.
But there comes a time when you got to, well, do what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
It's Bourbon and Clance in the Atlanta pen. Braves anticipate the bunt, and they're going to get it, but he took a strike 0-1. The problem now is to get out of this down just 1 run. I don't know how he's doing this year. I'm going to look right now, but a guy I think's got a chance to be quite a pitcher is this Curtis Leskanic in their bullpen. He's 2-0 with 6 saves.
He's got a good arm.
Again, Farmer's going to bunt. He tries to fool him. Hits it to Blauser. Can't make a play anywhere. Nobody's covering first base. When Lemke saw he was going to swing away, he had to scurry back to his position. McGriff had charge. Don't blame Blauser. The fans are booing, but he had no place to throw the ball.
That's why you pull the bat back when they take the bunt away from you that severely. You saw how close Chipper and Fred were. Nobody to cover the bases anywhere. Blauser's got to come off the bag to get the ball. Look where Chipper was. He's too far to cover third. Fred's too far to cover first. Lemke's trying to get back from first to cover second. As a result, sacks are loaded. Still nobody out.
And the crowd boos Blauser. If he throws the ball, he throws it in the bullpen.
Yeah, where's he going to throw it?
Now Colorado can break it open. There's another line drive, but right at Grissom. Here's the catch. He's going to try, and the throw is offline. And a sacrifice fly is the result. And another ball, frankly, hit right on the nose. The other runners stay at first and second. Farmer credited with a hit on his ball. Eric Young, another line drive, a sacrifice fly. And here's Ellis Burks.
I hope they threw that baseball out for Mike Farmer in his first big league hit, because this might be one of those nights that you dream about. Getting your first major league start, and it's against the four-time defending Cy Young winner. And right now you've got a 4-2 lead and got a base hit to boot.
And in a situation where your friends and family back in Gary, Indiana can see the game on the cable. Tap to short out there. That's all they can get. So there's the second out of the inning. And that's in a way a break. As long as there was an out, it gets Farmer off the break for the Rockies. It gets the pitcher off the baselines. And there's danger here. Larry Walker with runners on the corners and 2 out and 4 in. 4-7-0 for the Rockies. 2-1-1 for Atlanta. The air had nothing to do with the scoring.
Walker can go along though, skip in a ball game and not do much. Maybe strike out a couple of times, and all of a sudden when you need him and the game's on the line, he comes through.
Runner goes from first. See if that ball was check swing. It was foul tip. 0-1. (4-2) Rockies. Things have really turned around here. He had a home run cut, but he came up empty. He's in the hole 0-2.
Interesting that Burks was running on the pitch before, but not on the 0-1 pitch. Maybe as a result of Don Baylor thinking he wanted that hole left open for Larry Walker on the right side.
Walker is the 9th man to bat in the inning. Low and inside, a ball and 2 strikes. 5 hits and a hit batsman.
Maddux only lost 2 ball games last year. One was to the Rockies right here.
That's right. And he got hit hard in that game, as I recall.
8 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs.
The 1-2 pitch. Up and in, 2-2.
That pitch may have been upstairs by design, being ahead in the count, but again, it was up 2.
Walt Weiss running at third. Ellis Burks at first with 2 out. Runner goes. Struck him out with a breaking ball, inning over. But the inning is over, but a lot of damage is done. 4 runs on 5 hits. No errors and 2 left. Bottom of the 7th. All of a sudden, the Rockies lead it 4-2. Seventh inning, Justice, Lopez, and Plesko lead it off for Atlanta. Suddenly, the Rockies on top, 4-2. Vinny Castilla's 3-run homer, the big blow. Bullpen quiet for Atlanta. Now a left-hander up for the Rockies. It's Bruce Ruffin. Curveball just missed outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Mike Farmer made some points tonight with Don Baylor, that's for sure. Curveball line. There's the start into the right field corner. Justice at second, and they hold him there. If it's a 1-run game, they probably keep him going.
Yeah.
But down 2, they stop him at second base.
A hanging breaking ball. Pitch that got up. You just, when you see a pitch up there and you see these big league hitters jump on it, you realize what a fine line there is between having good control and keeping the ball down, and pitching coaches like Frank Funk, who's on his way to the mound, stressing keep the ball at the knees or below. That's why. Because hitters make such great adjustments when they see that ball upstairs and they're able to level off on it. David was certainly right on that pitch. And he has his 7th double of the year.
Frank Funk used to pitch for the old Atlanta Crackers.
Did he?
Yeah.
He's been in the Giants organization with a pitching coach for the Mariners, with the Royals.
Javi Lopez, the batter, 0 for 2. Runner at second, no one out. Didn't mean to. Boy, that'll drive you nuts. Castilla looks the runner back, throws to first. Hitters hate that worse than anything. You feel like you got yourself out. 1 down.
Plus, being a right-handed hitter, Braves needed him to really do something there with Plesko coming up next. You could see his reaction in the dugout. Javi must have been looking for something maybe middle of the plate in, and that's why he was reacting quickly. But once he recognized that it was going to be a ball, he couldn't stop the swing.
Ryan Plesko has been called out on strikes and has flied to left. Fastball right in there, 0-1. Looked like he was looking for that breaking ball, and I bet you he's thinking about taking one of those to left and trying to hit it over that fence. Goodness knows he's strong enough. Now the bullpen gets up again. Brad Clance goes to work once more. There's the curveball. Tried to pull it and fouled it off. 0-2. 18 of his 23 runs driven in this year have come via the homer. Mike Farmer again ready. Ground ball foul pass first. I'm sure Pete and Don told you the story, but it bears repeating about Farmer. He was a replacement player last year, and when he was called up, they held a meeting at which Farmer spoke, and he said, look, I don't care what you think, but I have a little 2-year-old son who needed a rather serious foot operation, and I didn't have the money. I had to do it. They've had absolutely no problems about that, and rightfully so.
Don Baylor was always active in the union when he was a player, and when the players were going to call that meeting to discuss it, he insisted that Farmer be allowed in that meeting so that there was no backbiting, so that he could answer his critics and address the team, and I think that was a smart move.
The 0-2. Boy, hung one, but Had Ryan off stride, and he fouled it back. 29,976 the paid attendance. And the 0-2 pitch. Low and away, 1-2.
That's a tough pitch to lay off of. Good eye by Ryan at breaking ball a little bit off the plate, but it starts at the plate, and it's tough to stop your swing.
Mike Farmer gets ready. He got him with a breaking ball. 2 out. Boy, this kid looks sensational. All you can do is tip your hat to him. 2 away. There's Jeff Blauser.
Another curve
in a perfect spot. While Jeff Reed goes to the mound, I want to remind you fans in the Atlanta area of the Bobby Cox Spina Bifida Celebrity Golf Classic, May 16th at Chateau Elan in Brazelton, Georgia. For further information, call 404-636-6212. That's May 16th. 404-636-6212. Out of the Braves will play, of course. Right in there to Blauser, 0-1.
You know, the thing about this guy that surprises me a little bit, we were talking about this on radio, is that he didn't have that bad of numbers as an offensive player in the Phillies system. And usually those guys that they're converting from being an everyday player to a pitcher is a guy that had a tremendous arm. They just felt like they couldn't wait to get him on the mound.
Pop foul back.
I'm ready.
But short of the mark. The ball refuses to come up here anymore. It's afraid of you.
But this guy is showing, he's walked a few guys tonight. That can be written off, I think, somewhat to the jitters. But a good curveball. We were told he had a pretty good sinker. Hasn't really needed it tonight, but not a blazing fastball.
The 0-2 pitch. Foul to the screen. He had a good cut at that one. Jerome Walton has grabbed a bat. He would pinch hit next if Blauser keeps the inning alive. Jerome was originally penciled in the starting lineup tonight, but a nagging groin injury made it impossible for him to start. The 0-2 pitch. He got him, and the inning is over. Boy, this guy shows you something. 5 strikeouts, a leadoff double comes to nothing. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, 1 left. We go to the 8th inning with your score. Rockies 4, Braves 2. Innings. I don't know if he's done or not. I'm sort of glad to see him out of the game as a Braves fan. He was terrific. 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs on a 2-run first inning homer. 3 walks, 5 strikeouts.
Great performance in his Major League first start. You see some writing under his hat, under the bill of his cap. It says, "Keep them guessing."
The only
he
thing
certainly did that tonight.
He sure did, but I don't understand how he can read that.
I don't know. Remember Fernando looking up the bill of his cap when he's going to his windup? Just a reminder.
How do your eyes adjust to that short distance? One of those questions that will probably never be answered. And Jerome Walton leads off the bottom of the 8th against Ruffin. Wow. Maddux, 95 pitches, 72 of them strikes into short center. It's going to fall for a hit. Walton singles to center, and that gets the Braves going in the 8th inning. Ruffin 1-0, but with a high earned run average, 4.91, 11 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 8 walks, 8 strikeouts. The league is hitting only 184 against him, so the control has gotten him in trouble.
And apparently Jerome Walton's feeling good enough to run for himself, so he's still at first.
Down and in, 1 ball, no strikes.
Walton now 8 for 14 against lefties.
Ruffin out of the University of Texas. He was on the same pitching staff with Roger Clemens and Calvin Schiraldi down there. Last year 0-1 with a good earned run average in 37 games. He has been with the Phillies, Milwaukee, and the Rockies.
He pitched real well in the division series. Appeared in all 4 games, 3 1/3 innings, 3 hits, but only 1 run allowed. And really, it wasn't until he had a little arm trouble that Curtis Laskanik came on to be their closer.
Our first running back. Marquise hit one to the base of the center field wall back in the 3rd. A long one here would tie things up. Mark Wohler is getting ready for Atlanta. Boy, he hit that ball hard. 2-2. So far, Ruffin hasn't exactly fooled anybody.
Well, Ruffin appears ready.
Yeah, Ruffin's ready. 6'2", 215, 32 years old. A switch hitting pitcher. Somewhat unusual. Full count now, 3-2.
Good battle going on here. Every time Ruffin makes a pretty good pitch, Marquise is right on it. Ruffin has walked 8 in 11 innings, but he has not allowed a home run.
Walton edges away at first. There's nobody out in the inning.
Be careful. He's got a decent move.
To the plate, not running. Got it. Now snap throw to first. Just did get back. Galarraga thought he had it. Grissom's out on strikes, and they came within an eyelash of getting Walton at first base.
Good throw by Jeff Reed, too. Breaking ball got Marquise. And if Galarraga doesn't have to worry about digging that out of the dirt, they probably do get Jerome. A nice play by Galarraga to save it. And a diving attempt. Good call by Kellogg, too, who let Galarraga know right away that he tagged him on the back of the shoulder, and that's why the hand got in there first.
Here's Mark Lemke. Downstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. We are in the 8th, and the Rockies lead 4-2. They chase Walton back. I don't know that he's going to be running in this spot. Well, by 2 runs, they could play hit and run.
Yeah, and given the fact that he has a sore leg to boot.
One-0 pitch. Like the knees, outside corner, 1-1.
One of the reasons Bobby probably is hesitating to pinch run for him if he's still a little sore is that Rafael Belliar is basically unavailable too. He's got a bad quadricep muscle.
Which one is that?
It's the big one on the front part of your leg.
Of the thigh, right?
The thigh muscle.
Off his foot, fouled on the third base line. That one has to smart a little bit. A ball and 2 strikes.
Outfield playing Mark pretty deep, trying to eliminate an extra base hit, scoring a run here.
Started to go, and he did. Strikeout number 2 for Ruffin. So it's all up to Chipper Jones here.
I don't know how many of the 7 strikeouts tonight have been on curveballs from left-handed pitchers, but a bunch of them have, and there's another check swing at one. Ruffin and Farmer have been outstanding with their breaking stuff.
Chipper's 0 for 3, and there's a strike on the corner to him. So after a slow start, Mr. Ruffin doing all right. He's ahead 0-2. You would figure if he gets him out here, he would stay in the game with McGriff, Justice, Lopez, Plesko due in the 9th.
Yeah, even though his spot's due up 3rd next inning.
Well, we'll see what happens. I would guess they'd stay with him. Jeff Bagwell, another homer, a 2-run shot, his 11th of the year, and Houston and Philadelphia are tied 5-5. The homer came off Russ Springer. Oh-2 pitch. Downstairs, a ball and 2 strikes.
One of the things that helps Ruffin's breaking ball, I think, is the fact that he really jumps at you. Front side clears out, but his arm kind of drags behind, so if you're looking at the motion, you're out front already.
Ground ball to 3rd. Castilla has that, goes the short way, and the inning is over. Give Ruffin some credit. A leadoff single, and then 2 strikeouts and an infield grounder. 1 hit. No runs, no errors, 1 left. We go to the 9th. Mark Wohlers will test it out, but the Braves trail 4-2. Maddux, 8 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs. They were earned, no walks, 6 strikeouts, a hit batsman, and a home run. He pitched very, very well, but not well enough to get a win. And unless the Braves rally in the 9th, he's looking at a loss.
First appearance for Mark Wohlers in the month of May. He last worked on the 30th of April at Houston. Maybe the beginnings of the flu in that outing. 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 2 unearned runs, but did strike out 4.
Well, his job is clear here. Just hold them where they are and hope you can rally. Any more runs and you're in deep trouble. Lower end of the order. Reed Weiss and Bruce Ruffin are scheduled. Their bullpen, no action yet, so you figure Ruffin will hit for himself. What are they doing out there? Do they have a rat treat or something? Look at their bullpen. Fastball outside, 1 ball, no strikes.
I don't know if it's Curtis Lescanic. Could be anything.
What is he?
Darren Holmes. That's an arrow pointed to the mound.
That's an X.
X marks the spot.
High 2-0.
Maybe somebody's having a little trouble getting work out there, and they're not sure how to get to the mound.
More problems have been solved in the bullpen than anywhere in the history of the world. Deep right center field on a 2-0 pitch. Justice has run out of room. And it's 5-2. Number 4 for Reed, his 13th RBI. So Mark receives a rude reception.
First earned run that Wohlers has allowed since opening day. Looked like it landed right on top of the fence, too.
David didn't quite get there in time to leap.
Yep, right on top of the fence.
Here's Walt Weiss. Ruffin will hit for himself. Weiss hits a foul. 2 homers for the Rockies, 1 for the Braves tonight. Atlanta has managed just 3 hits. 1 in the 1st, 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th. The Rockies had won 4 in a row till Steve Avery stymied them last night. Let up a little bit inside.
Just checking here among the guys in the bullpen for the Rockies. That arrow and X may have been for Curtis Lescanic, who has not pitched since April 28th.
Good off-speed pitch. 1-2.
X marks the spot, but they may not need him the way Ruffin worked in the 8th.
And with all those left-hand hitters coming up in the 9th, you wouldn't figure him to. Weiss strikes out. First out of the inning. And Ruffin will hit for himself, as we guessed he would.
Good off-speed pitch by Mark Wohlers. You see he's got the split finger pitch ready in the glove and good movement on it.
As we mentioned, Ruffin a switch hitter. He bats left against the right-hander. Strike at the knees, 0-1. In the Atlanta 9th inning, McGriff, Justice, Lopez due up. If anybody gets on, Klesko. Not much of a hack there, 0-2.
See the patch on the sleeve of the Rockies. MDM, it's for Michael McMorris, who passed away from cystic fibrosis in the offseason, son of the owner Jerry McMorris.
A little swinging bunt. That's trouble if it stays fair. They let it roll, and it goes foul. Chipper almost stepped right on that baby. 0-2 the count.
Bruce Ruffin likes hitting from the left side of the plate because he feels like he really gets down the line a lot quicker.
Yeah. I think you're right, buddy. Looking ahead, McGriff just 3 out of 16 in regular season play against Ruffin. Justice 5 out of 19, but with 2 homers. Klesko 1 for 1. Lopez 0 for 1. See ya. 2 out. Jeff Reed's had a good night for these guys. 3 out of 4, a home run included. He's scored 2 runs. Eric Young, the batter. Tom Glavine, Armando Reynoso tomorrow night here. That game will be on Sports South as well as the Braves' almost 170 station now radio network. Breaking ball, strike, 0-1.
You ever been to Boulder, Colorado?
Oh, yeah, I did football games there.
That's right. Great city, huh? Beautiful city.
Oh, gorgeous. Why do you ask?
John and Vicky Sivan are watching there tonight. Big Braves fans, but trapped in Colorado.
What a bad break. 0-2. Yeah,
I want to say hi to them tonight.
Boulder's one of my favorite cities.
Great place.
He chased a terrible ball there. Wohlers strikes out the side, but he'd like to have the home run ball back that he served up to Jeff Reed. 1 hit, 1 run. No errors, nobody left. Last chance for Atlanta with your score. Rockies 5, Braves 2. Leads it off here. Big Braves fan celebrating a birthday. Looking in tonight, Barbara Bayless. Good to have you with us, Miss Bayless. McGriff, Justice, Lopez, the first 3.
The map in the bullpen must have worked.
Is that Lescanic?
Yeah.
And he found his way to the mound and out on home. Good work. Here we go. Upstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Need a couple base runners to have a chance here. Braves left a runner in the 1st, another in the 3rd, 1 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th. That's been it. 4 left on base, 3 hits. Tough night. 1-1. Low and away. Didn't miss by much. 2 balls, 1 strike.
And that's the one thing Don Baylor does not want to let happen here in the 9th inning. He wants the Braves to swing the bat to get on the base. No walks.
2-1 pitch. Swung, lined into left field. That is going to fall for a hit. Boy, they play deep. There's a break for Atlanta. Fred hit it hard, but why play so deep with a 3-run lead? I don't understand.
Yeah, and this with the first batter in the inning, no reason to. It's not until that tying run comes up that you need to really back up and worry about it that much.
Well, let's see if the Braves can take advantage of some apparent good fortune. David Justice tonight has walked, flied to left, and doubled. Need one more base runner to bring a potential tying run to the plate. Almost hit him inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
A hit batsman helped the Rockies in their 7th inning when they got 4 off of Maddux.
Justice has grounded into 3 double plays this year. That's a high mark for him this early in the year. 3's enough, David. That's enough. 1-1. Galarraga plays behind the runner at first, but keeps him as close as he can to take care of his middle infielders. A ball and 2 strikes. We've had the leadoff man on now in the last 3 innings and have nothing to show for it. At least not yet.
Sorry, Skip. Constant diet of breaking balls too to left-handed hitters, and they've been good enough pitches that the Braves can't lay off. They've been around the plate for both Farmer and Ruffin. Another one.
David had a pretty good tack, stayed alive.
Having a little chat with himself about staying back, it looked like.
I wish I had the gold chain concession for Major League Baseball. He hit that baby twice. 1 and 2.
Hey, you'd be in pretty good shape.
No, I wouldn't be in any better shape, but I'd have a lot of money. One and 2 the count.
The one thing that Ruffin has to be careful of on the breaking ball is if he tries to throw it inside, David has a chance to pull it through the hole on the right side where Galarraga's playing behind Fred.
Grounded weakly to first. Step on the bag. Throw to second. Oh, the ball hit him. See if Fred's all right. No air on that play. Galarraga did the right thing. He got the sure out and then took a shot at trying to get McGriff at second, and had the throw not hit him, they might have had him. Runner at second, 1 out.
You're right. In fact, I'm surprised he was able to make this accurate a throw, throwing back to second. Would have been on line had Fred not gotten in the way. Good thing it did hit him.
Javi Lopez, the batter, and Klesko on deck. And the reason that Leskanic does not come into the game right now is that the left-hand hitter Klesko is next.
And remember the last time up, Javi tried to check his swing on a breaking ball.
And a weak grounder to third was the result. Strike outside corner, 0-1. Leskanic sits down. He's ready to go if needed. Hot shot. Young stays with it. Throws him out. Runner at third, 2 out. That ball was socked. But right at him, 2 away.
Tough hop, too. Nice play, Eric Young.
Yeah, he did make a good play.
Young's had his 10-game hitting streak, it would appear, had it snapped tonight, but this is an excellent defensive play. The ball came up, and he stayed with it.
Now, this is a spot where Ryan Klesko should not think about a home run. He's got to get on to give somebody else a chance to be the hero to tie the game. If he hits one, great. I mean, if it just happens to happen, but he doesn't have to try. 0-1 the count.
Yeah, his run doesn't mean anything. After the home run in the 9th made it a 3-run ball game. Mike Farmer hoping for his first big league win.
But this inning has lasted 8 hours in his mind. Up the middle. They'll never throw him out. A run is in. A single for Klesko. He did his job. Ruffin might have had that ball, but didn't get it. Ryan drives in his 24th run of the year. Now the tying run is at the plate.
I'm not sure that Ruffin didn't get a piece of this with his bare hand. If he did, he just tipped it. And Eric Young was upset that he didn't get a throw off, but I don't think they would have gotten Klesko anyway.
I'm surprised by this move. They're going to go to Leskanic. And my guess would be that Dwight Smith will come out and hit for Atlanta, but we'll let Bobby Cox handle all that. Maybe he's not coming in. I thought I saw him gesture down there, but yeah, Ruffin's gone. And Curtis Leskanic will come on. And we'll be back after this. Leskanic has been doing it here lately, Joe, huh?
Yeah, he's 6 for 6 in save opportunities, Skip. We mentioned that his last work was well over a week ago, the 28th of April against Montreal. He worked an inning, gave up 2 hits in a run that night, though. And he has struck out 15 in his last 16 and a third innings. Jeff Blauser still out there. He's 1 for 4 against Leskanic, but Dwight Smith, who has a bat and apparently would hit for Wohlers, 4 for 6 against the guy. I'm honestly a little surprised he's not hitting from Jeff, but could be again. They've got Giovanola available on the bench, but with Belliard being a little lame, leaves him a little short-handed on the bench.
Now it's Brad Plants up in the Atlanta bullpen. But Blauser's got to deliver here. Jeff tonight 0 for 3. Runner at first, 2 out, 2-run game. Strike on the corner, 0-1.
Leskanic last year led the National League in appearances with 76. He was 6 and 3 and had 10 saves. Struck out 107 batters in 98 innings.
He is tough. Outside this time, it's 1-1. Leskanic out of Homestand, Pennsylvania, it says in that media gun. That's in the Pittsburgh area. Two balls and a strike. A long one ties it. Any kind of base hit brings Dwight Smith to the plate, or a walk, or an error. And then Smith would represent a potential winning run.
This is not that much different than Klesko's at bat. Jeff's idea up there is to get on base, keep the inning going. If he drives one out of the park, so be it. But think line drive and hope to find a hole. Good pitch to hit here.
3-1. Out in front, 3-2.
Breaking ball. A 3-1 hook from Leskanic.
Made Blauser look bad. You can hardly blame him. You have to sit on the fastball in that spot. Well, the payoff pitch. The runner goes from first. Now Reed and Leskanic want to get together. It's a good idea. You better be sure on this pitch.
Also, you mentioned at the beginning of the inning that ball dropping in front of Ellis Burks off the bat of Fred McGriff. Now is when you should be playing deep to avoid an extra base hit, and that's what the Rockies are doing. If anything, they've backed up a little bit deeper, right up against the warning track all the way around.
Boy, could Jeff Blauser use a hit here, so could his team, but I think he needs it worse than the ball club. Runner goes, fouled off, still alive. Quickly in the other baseball, Oakland beat Cleveland 8-4. In the 6th inning, the Yankees lead Detroit 7-5. Boston 4-2 over Milwaukee after 5. The White Sox 3-2 over Baltimore after 7. Toronto 1-0 over Texas after 5. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Fouled it away again.
Tough pitch.
And Jeff fought it off. He's 1 for 4 in his career, as Joe said, against Curtis Leskanic.
That ball had some movement. May have been a split finger pitch. And Leskanic, if he threw it 3-1, certainly not afraid to throw it 3-2.
Here we go again. Runner goes inside. He drew a walk. Good job by Blauser. The inning's still alive, and so's the ball game. Dwight Smith, as Joe said, 4 out of 6 against this guy. And Don Baylor has to be talking to himself.
Well, he probably would like to know where that fastball was, too. That looked like a pretty good pitch, a borderline pitch. And it went the way of Jeff Blauser. Target set up right on the middle of the plate. It was there, but it was low. Good eye, Jeff Blauser. Good call, Joe West.
Well, here we go.
Be careful on the first pitch.
Dwight hitting an even 200. Got around late, hit it hard, but foul 0-1. Against Colorado in his career, Dwight hitting .343, 12 out of 35, a homer, 6 RBI. San Diego and Pittsburgh rained out tonight. Florida has beaten New York 3-2. Reds lead the Dodgers 1-0, bottom of the 8th. Dave Burba pitching that game, the 0-1 pitch. Good breaking ball. It's 0-2. Chicago leads Montreal 3-2, bottom of the 7th. David Segui has hit a homer. Houston and Philadelphia 5-5 after 7. Giants and Cardinals 2-2 after 6. Greenville won tonight. They beat Orlando 8-5. The pitch. Line, left field, base hit. This game is still alive. A run will score. Other runner, Blauser, stops at second. An 0-2 pitch, and Dwight Smith comes through.
Boy, is this a good piece of hitting. He's right on top of the plate, stayed with the pitch away from him. And here's where that defensive alignment paid off for the Rockies. If they're playing normal depth, this has a chance to be sliced by Ellis Burks and to the outfield wall. But by playing deep, he keeps it in front of him, keeps Blauser at second base.
And Marquise Grissom is the batter.
How big was that home run in the top of the inning?
How big was Burks playing so deep on McGriff? Grissom 1 for 6 against Leskanic in his career. Tying run at second, go-ahead run at first. It was an 0-2 pitch. And that's right in there, 1-1.
The Braves probably in the last 3 years have pulled off more late-inning magic against the Rockies than any other team, and you just wonder if it's happening again.
The 1-1 to Marquise. Oh, yeah, pretty good rip, but he fouled it back.
Good swing at a high breaking ball.
Grissom tonight 0 for 3 with a walk, a run scored, a stolen base. Many of the fans on their feet here, trying to root the Braves home. Leskanic toed the rubber and then stepped off.
Wasn't quite sure. Trying to be careful they don't make another mistake. As Mike Farmer is suffering in the dugout through this 9th inning.
The 1-2 swung, looping fly ball, short right center, base hit, tie game, Smith to third. This time on a 1-2 pitch. And again, the deepness of their outfield haunts them. Runner at first, runner at second. Make a runner at third, 2 out in a 5-2 game, and it's suddenly 5-5.
Skip, I tell you, the last 2 pitches, though, that the Braves have hit, the one by Dwight Smith, the one by Marquise Grissom, pretty good pitches, especially the one hit by Marquise just now. That ball was well off the plate. It was a breaking ball. Didn't break that much, but he stayed on it, wasn't pulling off the plate, and got just enough of it to tie the ball game up. What an inning.
See if Dwight tries to draw a balk. He represents the winning run. There are 2 out in the inning. I wish he hadn't fouled that. The ball game be over. Looked like a wild pitch. 0-1. Lemke 1 for 5 in his career against Leskanic. Downstairs, a ball and a strike. Chipper Jones on deck, but right now the ball game up to Mark Lemke. Greg Maddux is off the hook, and the poor kid Mike Farmer, who deserved a better fate, cannot win it. There goes Grissom, fouled away. That's not a bad play. Get to second base, take the force play away.
I think it's a very good idea if they're going to give it to you. What it also does is maybe distract Jeff Reed a little bit. If there's a ball in the dirt, he might be thinking about the runner. But the trademark of the Braves in this homestand has been 2-out hitting, Skip. And tonight, not only some clutch 2-out hitting by Smith and Grissom, but a clutch 2-out walk by Jeff Blauser.
There goes Grissom inside. He makes it unmolested. No stolen base. Fielder's choice is the ruling. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Jeff Reed wanted time immediately because he had to point out at Marquis to remind Leskanic that they were going to have to change the signs with a runner at second, and then wasn't sure if they had it together. No mistakes here.
Leskanic's first blown save of the year. Hot shot. Galarraga, great play. Pitcher covers, inning over. Boy, Lemke made a bid to end this game, but you can't get much by that big guy. Fine play, Galarraga, but what a comeback by Atlanta. The Braves scored 3 times. They do it on 4 clutch hits. No errors in the inning, a couple runners left. Free baseball in Atlanta, all tied, 5-5. Atlanta. And with the play-by-play story, here once again, Joe Simpson.
All right, Skip, he'll face Ellis Burks, Larry Walker, and Andres Galarraga here in the 10th inning. Brad Klontz has worked 2 of the last 3 ball games here on this homestand. You see his numbers. This is his 16th appearance of the year. 6 strikeouts in 14 innings, a little bit low for Brad, but the league only hitting 189 against him.
We got the heart of our order, of course, coming up in the bottom half of the inning.
Mark Wohlers worked an inning, gave up a hit. It was a home run to Jeff Reed. No walks, 3 strikeouts. Ellis Burks 0 for 4. A couple of strikeouts. The Braves' numbers in extra innings have not been so good. They are 0 and 3. First pitch to Burks, hit hard on 1 hop to Chipper. 1 out. The Rockies are 1-1 in extra inning contests. Larry Walker's 0 for 4. That was all against Greg Maddux. Against Klontz, he is 2 for 2 with a home run. And has a big rip. One of the things about a right-hander that comes sidearm to Larry Walker, he, number one, likes to dive into the plate anyway, and this gives him even more opportunity because he sees the ball so well out of his hand. But pops that one up. Shallow center field. And Marquis Grissom has it. 2 down. Big out. Galarraga up there. 1 out of 4 tonight. He scored a run back in the 7th. And he's had some success against Klontz. He's 3 for 3. And and runs the fastball in on him. He fouls it off his foot. 0-1. Good pitch by Klontz. They have a left-hander down in their bullpen. It looks like Mike Munoz warming up. And it is. If anything, with Klontz out there, Galarraga opens up his stance even more. Bounces one off the plate. And an easy 1-2-3 inning for Klontz. Good job. He mows him down and gets the offense right back up there. We go to the bottom of the 10th. Jones, McGriff, and Justice still tied at 5. County Stadium, a 5-5 tie. Braves rallied for 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. Off of Curtis Leskanic and Bruce Ruffin. Chipper Jones was the only Brave hitter not to hit in the 9th inning. He's 0 for 4. Breaking ball at Chipper, swung on and missed. He's 1 for 2 lifetime against Leskanic. Good fastball, but it's fouled back. 0-2.
Well, good. He's got 2 strikes on him. That's when we've been doing our damage.
We've got him right where we want him. Fastball missed inside. Chipper tonight. Flying to center in the 1st. Struck out in the 3rd. Popped out to center again in the 6th. And aboard on a fielder's choice to end the 8th. Breaking ball got him. First strikeout for Leskanic. You see that pitch and you see how easily this game could have ended in the 9th inning. That was a tough pitch. Fred McGriff started the 9th inning with a slicing line drive hit off of Bruce Ruffin. He dropped in front of Ellis Burks. He scored on an infield hit by Ryan Klesko. Good swing, but a miss. 0-1.
You can see him playing deep now in a tie game, but I still 3-run lead. It was hard to understand. Big break for the Braves.
Yeah, it was. Fred 3 for 5 against Leskanic in his career. Takes the fastball. Fred in his last 16, now 17 ball games, 6 homers, 20 RBIs. 2-1. Leskanic works quickly. Fastball. Did he go around? Yes, he did, says Joe West. Fred was hoping that he would ask for some help, but he didn't. It's 2-2. Yep.
Yeah, I think he did too.
Yeah, he did. David Justice waiting on deck. Good rip and got a piece of it to stay alive.
Montreal's come from behind to take an 8-5 lead over the Cubs. And the Dodgers have tied the Reds 1-1 in the 9th.
Again, the 2-2 pitch to McGriff. Got him. Ran it right in on his kneecaps, and Fred tried to stop his swing and couldn't. Back-to-back strikeouts. And now Justice up there with 2 outs. He's also 3 for 5 against Leskanic in his career.
He just overmatched him that time. Give the pitcher credit.
Yeah, and give some more credit to Marquise Grissom and Dwight Smith last inning against a guy who averaged a higher number of strikeouts per inning than just about anybody in the National League last year, and they were able to get a piece of some pitches that could have easily been strikeouts. 1-0 to Justice. David has a double and 3 trips tonight plus a walk. That breaking ball, but it missed. 2-0. David can afford now to tee off if he gets something in a zone, preferably middle of the plate in, I'm sure. They move the target outside. Good pitch, 2-1.
You almost have to make up your mind to go the other way, I would think.
But and on that count, you have to make up your mind if the pitch is not where you want it. You just got to take it. Don't offer at it. 3-1. Same situation again.
Look for a zone and a pitch, and if you get it, try to put the lights out here.
If it's close, he'll be hacking. Ball 4. He walked him. That's the second walk Leskanic has issued. First batter he faced when he was brought in the ninth was Jeff Blauser, and that was with 2 outs. And he walked him, gave up a single then to Jerome Walton, or excuse me, to Dwight Smith, and then a single to Marquise Grissom. Javi 0 for 3 against Leskanic. And that one's upstairs and it misses. Some activity in the Braves bullpen. Greg McMichael begins to loosen up. Good eye. He's having trouble getting ahead, and Lopez lays off the breaking ball. 2-0. Pitch to hit. Outside, 3-0.
This might be a pretty good pitch to hit, too.
Yes, sir.
And I bet that's why Reed went to the mound, to remind him that the Braves, more than any other team, are cut loose 3-0.
That and the fact that eventually he's going to have to throw a strike.
Yeah, so he might as well get after it.
Try not to overswing here. That's the hardest part. But he went after what looked like another breaking ball.
And he did overswing, I think.
Well, and maybe what you're talking about with Reed going out there, maybe a reminder of that 3-0 count. The breaking ball was effective. And I call it a breaking ball because it's moving down. It's more like a split finger pitch. Same pitch again. It's fouled off out of play, and it's full now, 3-2, and Justice can take off. Braves going after their 5th last at bat win of the year. Plesko's on deck. They have a lefty in the bullpen ready if needed. Justice is running. Full count pitch driven into center field. Pretty deep. Back goes Walker on the track at the wall. He can't get it. It's off the wall. Justice rounds third. He'll score easily. Javi Lopez with a double off the wall. And the Braves rally and win it in 10, 6-5.
What a job of hitting against a tough pitcher for a right-hand hitter.
He almost hit that ball out of the ballpark.
And such a nice, easy swing. He didn't look like he was trying to hit for any power. Just stay alive. Let's look again. It's that breaking ball. Look at how easy he swung, and look how far this ball goes.
Amazing. I thought Walker had it, and he leaped for it, but didn't leap high enough.
And once that happened, you knew this was a cakewalk for David. He could have crawled home. So the Braves snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, as the old saying goes. Let's look one more time at what happened to Walker. Did he have it in his glove?
You know what? It looked like a little bit like he got too close to the wall to jump, where he jumped into the wall and couldn't fully elongate himself to reach for it and came up short.
And he made a heck of an effort. You got to give him credit, too. But what a win for the Braves. And again, with 2 outs, nobody on. And again, the little base on balls. It doesn't seem like much. And then the clutch hit from Javi Lopez, who hit that ball a long way. Javi, how can this Skip and Joe upstairs? How can you swing so easy and hit the ball so far? Congratulations.
Well, basically, when I'm swinging hard, I can hit the ball hard. So what I did last at bat was try to make contact, no matter where the ball go. And I was expecting slider because this is a slider pitcher. So finally, I made contact the way I wanted to and where I wanted to. And that's the game.
when he threw you the 3-0 slider, that had to make you start thinking about it, I guess, then later in the count. And were you looking, did you say you were looking for it on the 3-2 pitch?
Of course. I mean, even in 3-0, I mean, 2 ball, no strike, I knew he was going to throw me slider too, because he don't want to give any pitch. So basically, that's what I was looking for all the time. Slider, slider, slider. But I wasn't going to swing on 3-0, but I wanted to swing because I want to get loose. It don't matter where the ball is. So I did. Second strike wasn't the pitch I wanted to, but I swung it. And the last one, finally I hit it.
How are you feeling, by the way? I know you've had the flu. You feeling better?
Oh, yeah. I feel a lot better.
Yeah, I bet you feel good.
Yeah,
good
I
right
bet
now.
you too.
No.
I had one more for you, and that had to do with what your thought was about the slider. I mean, you hit the ball 400 feet to straightaway center field. Were you just trying to make sure you didn't pull off the ball and try to drive it to center field?
Exactly. In a slider, you can pull that ball. I mean, that was a slider away. You got to go with the ball. And that's what I did, go to center field. And if I cannot hit the center field, I'll try to go right field, because that's where all my base is going to.
Well, congratulations, and way to come through again with your specialty, a 2-out base hit, and this time to win a ball game.
Thanks. I got to do something for the team Sunday, so finally I did.
You done real good, son. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's Javi Lopez, and we'll be back right after this.
Game is Javier Lopez, who came through with 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th inning with a game-winning RBI double off the center field wall. Congratulations to Javi on that. And it all was set up by a 2-out walk to David Justice, and Curtis Lescanic's slider driven 400 feet off the wall. But what a weird game. Greg Maddux cruising with a 2-0 lead into the 7th. The Rockies rally. They get a 3-run homer from Vinny Castilla to put them ahead, and then the Braves had to rally with some clutch hitting of their own in the bottom of the 9th, and then they win it in the 10th. The Rockies stranded 5, the Braves 7. You see the records of the pitchers as Klontz picks up his first win. Lescanic sucks up his first loss. 29,976 here at the ballpark in a game that lasted 2 hours and 46 minutes.
And young Mike Farmer has to be content with the knowledge that if he keeps pitching like he pitched tonight, he'll get that elusive first victory and many, many more. He pitched a terrific game for Colorado. Tomorrow the game is on Sports South. The Braves will try to sweep the series. Our next telecast is Friday at 7:30 from Philadelphia. Coming up next, the Cowboys, starring John Wayne. For Joe Simpson, Pete Van Wieren, Don Sutton, our entire TBS crew, Skip Carey from the ballpark. So long, everybody.
Leading sports television into the 21st century, this has been an exclusive presentation of Turner Sports.